The warm glow of the Shabbat candles marks the end of a busy week, a family tradition and reflection. But stay with us while we prepare a very special Shabbat dinner. Shalom, and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Eenie Frost, and we are going to make a dinner for a very special holiday. Yes, perhaps this most important holiday next to Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And the wonderful part of this holiday is that it comes every single week. Every week we have the opportunity to celebrate the Shabbat. And how beautiful that is. And how do we know, and where did we learn about this? Jewish law was all given to us 3,200 years ago in the Torah, or sometimes called Pentateuch. Pent for 5, remember in English 101, pentameter? Pentateuch, 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. No, we do not refer to this as the Old Testament because we do not accept a New Testament. But in the 5 books of Moses, in Genesis, the first book, we are directed that we are to observe this special day. It says, "And God blessed the 7th day and hallowed it, because that in it he rested from all his work, which God had created." And this gives to us this special day that we celebrate. And how beautiful it is, because in Jewish life, our days are run by a lunar calendar. So the Shabbat, as all other holidays, begin the evening before, on Friday evening. But we begin on Fridays. You know, in all the years I've been in organizational life, we have never had a meeting on a Friday. That's the day that everybody is home. You want to reach any of the girls? Call them up on Friday, because everyone is home, cleaning, cooking, preparing for this most beautiful moment when the Queen, the Sabbath Queen, will come into our homes and bring us the peace and the beauty. And the dinner is always special, or no matter what you have done all week, on Friday night, on the Sabbath, it is going to be special. And there are certain traditional dishes that are always made. An appetizer, well, I would say that the 2 most popular appetizers are chopped liver and chopped herring. And we have already made chopped liver. If you do not have that recipe, when you send in, please just ask for it. But today we're going to make chopped herring. I'm going to take 2 jars, 2 12-ounce jars, or 1 22-ounce jar of the herring in the wine sauce, because of course what we're going to be making is going to be for a meat dinner, so we do not want it to have any milk in it. We're going to put our herring in and mash it up. Now, how did I get the recipe from Grandma Mabel? It wasn't easy. My daughter went over to my mother's house and she watched her make it, and that's the only way we got it, because as long as I have asked Mother for the recipe, she will never explain it or tell me, because she does it by a handful of this and a handful of that. But we're going to add to it, and I think this gives it a wonderful flavor, are 3 apples that have been cut up. And this time I did pare them, and I did cut them, and I did core them. And we will put that right in with them. Now we have, in addition to our herring and to our apples, 3 hard-cooked eggs. And be sure when you hard-cook your eggs that you do not overdo them, because there's nothing worse than having your eggs that are really too overdone. And of course, we have to have onions, and that makes me cry all the time, but I'm going to try to see if I can get these in without too much of a problem. Now, we're having a little trouble here. If the herring sticks, and it often does, maybe you'll have to take some of it out. And I put some of it in a bowl on the side while we be sure that we get our eggs in. Sometimes that happens. I find it in the food processor very often, unless you're working with a dry ingredient. If you're working with a dry ingredient like nuts or something like that, put that in first. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble if you put your wet ingredients in first. The problem is that everything we're making today is a wet ingredient, and that's why it's difficult to set it in right. But we're going to use our herring, apples, an onion, 2 onions that are chopped up, a half a cup of breadcrumbs, or if you want to use it for Passover, then just use matzah meal, a half a cup of sugar, a little pepper, just a dash of pepper. And one thing we found that Grandma Mabel always uses, this is the kick. We always said to her, what is it that you're putting into it that's a little different? It's a little cinnamon. That's what's going to give it a wonderful flavor. And for a liquid, I have just clear vinegar. This is 1/4 of a cup of clear vinegar. And I know that makes a lot of noise. So before I set that together, I'm going to show you how wonderful it looks. This is chopped herring, and I wish that you were here. You can even kind of smell that little cinnamon that gives it a little kick. And the thing on Shabbos that we do, that we don't do during the week, of course, before we eat any meal, we always say a prayer over the bread. But on the Sabbath, we will have Kiddush first. That is a special prayer that perhaps came down from rabbinic times. And we will say the Kiddush all together. And if you do not have a copy, it's always written in the regular prayer book. It's a very beautiful prayer. It again explains the creation. For it says, Yom HaShishi, this is the beginning, Yom, day, HaShishi, 6, on the 6th day. Remember the Sabbath day, the heavens and the earth, and there was evening and there was morning, the 6th day, HaShishi. The heavens and the earth and all they contain were completed. And on the 7th day, God completed the work which he had been doing. And within the Kiddush is the prayer over wine, because we are going to drink wine at our service before we begin to eat. And the second paragraph will tell us that praised art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, whose mitzvot and holiness to our lives, cherishing us to this gift. And followed by the end, which will say, praised are you, Lord, who hallows the Sabbath. And I think the beautiful part about saying Kiddush together is that the entire family becomes a part of this and sits together at the Sabbath table. Perhaps on other evenings, if you want to serve your hors d'oeuvres or something in the den before you come into the dining room, but not on Shabbat. Have an appetizer that will be individual, that will be seated at the table, a little more formalized. I think that adds to the Sabbath. For things just do not happen. It is for us to make the Sabbath holy, to make it proper, that will be an excitement and interest to our children, that they will hand down. And this is the important thing for us to remember on the Sabbath. And of course, the most exciting part is to begin with a wonderful appetizer. And I hope that you will try our chopped herring.
Enie's Kitchen will continue in a moment. If you would like a copy of Enie's recipes, please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Enie's Kitchen, WJUF TV, 1 South Franklin Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. That's a self-addressed stamped envelope to Enie's Kitchen, WJUF TV, 1 South Franklin Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
Every Shabbat, I think about what to make for dinner, but it goes back to tradition. I always think of what I had at home, what my grandmother, Alva Sholem, what they made. And usually it's poultry. For some reason, this seems to have been the more traditional type of thing to make. Chicken or duck, or what about Cornish hens? They are so delicious and really so simple to make. And they're wonderful. Now, when you go into the store, they are generally frozen. Put them in your refrigerator and let them set overnight, and they will be just fine. They usually run about 1.5 pounds. And if you want to, for the children, you can have the butcher cut them down the middle. Or you can do it yourself. Wait till they're defrosted a little bit and take a sharp knife. But otherwise, they're just lovely to serve this way. And the important thing is that after they defrost, put their wings out and be sure that you clean out the inside and either salt them. If you're not going to stuff them, then put an apple or an onion in to give them a little flavor. But we are going to stuff them. And of course, you know, if you cook with me on Enie's Kitchen all the time, I always say, fresh is best. So I tried to come up with a stuffing that would be a little bit unusual, a little bit interesting, but fresh. And here's what we're going to do. Oh, apples are so wonderful. They're so great to use and so easy, and everybody loves them. I have about 3 cups of apples here. And I have pared them and cored them and cut them into small pieces. And now look what we're going to add to them. 12 prunes. Buy the pitted ones, it's easier. And just take a scissors, cut them up into little pieces, and add that in. Now, it needs something that's a little stable. So I'm going to try about 4 tablespoons of breadcrumbs, just to stabilize it a little bit. And for a little kick, a little bit of garlic. You think that sounds strange? But try it, you'll see. And don't give me that garlic powder in the can. Come on, how long does this take? Look at, how long does that take? Just 1 second. Buy your garlic cloves and look at how easy that is to use. Now just mix this together and we're going to stuff our hens. And they're really very simple to stuff. You just take a little spoon and you don't even have to worry about sewing him up. We're going to add a little bit of sugar, I think, because I found that it depends on your apples, but these apples needed about 2 tablespoons of sugar and about a teaspoon of salt and 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper. But when you're doing something light like this, let's stick with the white pepper. It's really fine. And just blend that together. Oh, this is great. This is a great idea. Now, if you have to pick off any pin feathers, just use, this is a strawberry huller, and you'll see it works out fine. Take your spoon and just stuff him up in here. Here we go. We're going to stuff you guys up. And you can make them pretty full because there isn't anything in this stuffing that's really going to swell, you know, like a turkey stuffing. You can go pretty full out with him. Just take your stuffing and put it in pretty full. And you'll see how nice that will set up. But now we want the legs to set well while he's cooking. So we're going to take a piece of string about this big and just tie his legs. Just put them together like this. Tie the legs together. And then we're going to give them a good glaze. I love orange. Every time I walk in the store and I see that orange marmalade, and be sure you buy the one from Israel, because the oranges in Israel are so wonderful and they're so pungent and they're so delicious. So take your orange marmalade, and to this I've added about 1 tablespoon of parve margarine. Pour it over and put this in a 350 oven for about an hour. If you do not stuff them, then about 40 minutes will be enough. But here, we've had these in for about an hour. And look at how nice they look. Now, they're really all ready to be served. We're just going to take a scissors. We'll put this one in. We'll take a scissors and cut the string. You see how I put this on here? Comes right off, and that holds it together. That's holding it very nicely. So that when you serve this, all you have to do is to take each one off, put it on a plate, and when you bring this to the table, it really makes a smashing hit. Here, we'll take a plate, and they're very, very simple to serve. Because if we take one of our spatulas, oh, maybe even a little one like this will work out fine. Take a spatula, put him on, and before you serve him, take a piece of pineapple, put it on the top, top it with a cherry, and doesn't this make an absolutely super dinner? And if you have company, or for your own family, and they just fall apart. You just take your fork and knife and you'll see they'll just fall apart. and you want your Shabbos dinner to always be special. So we'll have our Cornish hens, and for appetizer, I hope you'll try our chopped herring, because it really is good and makes a wonderful Shabbat dinner.
Enie's Kitchen will continue in a moment. If you would like a copy of Enie's recipes, please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Enie's Kitchen, WJUF TV, 1 South Franklin Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. That's a self-addressed stamped envelope to Enie's Kitchen, WJUF TV, 1 South Franklin Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
As a side dish to the Cornish hens, I always try to make something that will perhaps be a teaching experience, that will tell our children something about our history, our past. Now you might say, what would potato kugel have to do with Jewish history? Well, it has a great deal to do with it. In the 1880s and 1890s, a large wave of immigration came of people who came here from Tsarist Russia. The Russians were very cruel to the Jews in those days. In fact, they had what they called pogroms. If you saw Fiddler on the Roof, do you remember that story